It was 55 degrees when I woke up this morning, which means two things. Dark academia season is here, spooky season is here, and I couldn't be more excited. I guess that's three things. Hi everybody, it's Audrey and welcome back to Chapter and Converse, and welcome to a book recommendation video. I am 100% that girl. When the calendar hits September 1st, it is fall, this is my season, this is when I thrive, this is what I get so excited about. And I'm very excited to be partnering with Book of the Month again on today's video to talk to you guys about some great spooky books, some great dark academia books, and headline news, you guys. For only $5, you can get your first book with Book of the Month using the code JACKET. There's also a little something extra on the side that you can get, so hold on for just a minute, because first we're going to talk about Book of the Month, then we're going to talk about the surprise. So, if you guys have been around for a while, you know I am a huge fan of Book of the Month. Their team selects the best new books that are coming out, and they provide you with a short list where you can find some of your favorite authors, a great way to discover new authors across all genres. You know I am a hardcore mystery thriller fan, but I have found some great contemporaries, some great romances. One of the things that Book of the Month has done spectacularly for me is opened me up to debut authors, new voices, new books I might not have ever picked up on my own, but I trust them implicitly with their selections. So when I review that list, when it pops at the beginning of the month, I'm always like, okay, who do I see that I love? What intrigues me? Who is new to me? Where can I find my next favorite book? Shipping is always free. They have a fantastic loyalty program, and every month they have a fantastic selection. But on the off chance that there's a month where maybe something just isn't working for you, you can skip that month, no questions asked, just move on to the next month and save your credit for the next time around, because you know something great is just around the corner with Book of the Month. So let's talk about this month. $5 for your first book, which, how can you beat that? There are new releases, there are early releases, and then this month for the something special, you can also pick from two different baseball hats. So I got Well Read, got a little Book of the Month on the side here. This is like a cream colored corduroy. It is super soft. Do I dare try and put it on and see how silly I'm going to look putting it on? Not bad, right? Not bad. I've already worn it. Can you tell? I absolutely love it. But for only $5 using the code JACKET, you can get a book, and they have physical books, or you can choose an audiobook, and you get to choose a hat. So what more do you need to know? Do you want to know what books I picked this month? Let me tell you about the books I picked this month. All right, I'm going to just keep the hat on for this entire time because we're just going to roll with it. So first book I picked, spooky season, author that I know and love. This is Rachel Harrison. Her new book, Play Nice. It says home is where the horror is. So we have a woman whose mother has passed away, and her sisters inherited the house that they grew up in, and they're kind of trying to figure out if it's as spooky and haunted as their mother said it was when they were growing up. I have read multiple Rachel Harrison books. She is an absolute go-to for me during spooky season. So when I saw her as a Book of the Month selection, I was like, absolutely, I was going to read this book. Let me get my hands on it now. And I'm super excited about it. And dark academia season is also all things fall for me. And I picked up Elin Hilderbrand and Shelby Cunningham's new book, The Academy. So Shelby is Ellen's daughter. This is a year at Tiffin Academy, which is a boarding school, which is having a major case of new app letting everybody's secrets out and basically destroying lives, which I absolutely love. But Elin is an author that I absolutely know, but have not read before. But I was super excited about this book, and when I saw it was a Book of the Month pick, I was like, absolutely, I have to get this one. So they are absolutely scratching both of my itches this month, and you can get one of these two books, or an audiobook, or one of their other amazing selections for only $5 using the code JACKET. Book of the Month does such a fantastic job in selecting books, and they are so committed to their readers. So they want to make sure that we are enjoying what we're reading. They want to give you the best value for your money. And they also want to inspire readers and create curious minds and push new fiction forward. So authors you know and love, like I said, but also newly discovered authors that are out there. And it is just about having a great time while you're reading. And Book of the Month helps to take some of the mystery away when mood readers are trying to figure out what they want to read. So again, I love looking at that list of books that they have, which inspire me for what I want to pick up next. But there is nothing better than being put in the mood for things that you love and having fantastic selections each month. So again, I am so thankful to Book of the Month for sponsoring today's video. All of the details are going to be down below in the description box, so there will be a link to their site. Again, the code JACKET, you get a book for $5 and you get to pick a baseball hat, which who doesn't need a hat in the new fall season? And you just can't go wrong. So free shipping, great value, and a fantastic selection of books. Check it out. Definitely check out Book of the Month. And now we are going to check out both of these books in more detail, along with a list of books that I highly recommend for spooky dark academia season and a few that are on my TBR. Let's get into it. Let's dive right in with Rachel Harrison. So I have two books, something old, something new. So let me start with the something old. So Cackle was the first of her books that I had ever read. And if you guys have been around here for a couple of years, you will know I was so in love with this book and so surprised. Like, I expected a good time, but this one really hit home. So this is about a woman who has been really dumped in a bad way by her boyfriend and is looking to escape. So she leaves Manhattan and moves to a small town in upstate New York. And it's like this perfect picturesque town, and she meets this woman, Sophie, who really encourages her to, you know, like take control of her life and speak her voice and not let this breakup bring her down. And some things start to happen where she starts to notice that Sophie is like kind of ageless and maybe has some special tricks and powers to her, and starts to wonder, is Sophie a witch? So that is the tagline. That was not a spoiler. So it's just a frightening novel about a young woman meeting a witch who might be too good to be true. So this was great. And what I really loved, the descriptions of like the relationship and the heartbreak and all of that, like all of that hit such a big chord with me. And that personal side of it, I loved. So I mean, like dog-eared like nobody's business, which is one of the many reasons I'm super excited about her new book. So Play Nice, where it says home is where the horror is a haunted house book. So it says it's just waiting for you to come home. So Cleo, as I said before, is leading this picture perfect life, and she has a not so glamorous secret. She grew up in a haunted house. So this to me is very reminiscent of Home Before Dark by Riley Sager, which I always keep close at hand. Also another perfect spooky season read. But her mom was convinced that there was a demon living in their house, and Cleo and her sisters were kind of like not totally believing it. But after her mom dies and Cleo inherits the house with her sisters, she wants to fix it up. And her mom had written a book about the experiences in the house, similar to Home Before Dark. So Cleo never read the book, but now she's back in the house and old memories are starting to surface, and she's starting to maybe see what her mom saw and is starting to wonder, like, was it all in her mom's head, or is there really something demonic happening at this house? So spooky season, written all over it. Great, great, great. So Thirsty by Rachel Harrison is also great. And then I also have Black Sheep and I have The Return. So she's just a phenomenal spooky season author for sure. All right, then we're going to switch into some dark academia. Maybe I'll like bounce back and forth or just work my way through the pile. So The Girls Are Also Nice Here by Laurie Elizabeth Flynn. This was another book where I expected to like it and I loved it. Like 5 stars, all of it, obsessed. This has some dual timelines of 2 friends who come back to their college for a reunion, and sort of the dark and messed up things that they did when they were there comes back to haunt them. This is another one with all the dog ears. I mean, I show my love in dog ears and tabs. There's no rhyme or reason to when I dog ear versus tab, but that's a video for a different day. It's the 10-year reunion, and Ambrosia gets a letter in the mail that says we need to talk about what we did that night. So anonymous letter, she knows exactly what it's talking about, but she's not quite sure who is sending it and why. So she had the it girl friend Sully in college, like met freshman year. She is just all things, and Ambrosia is beside herself when Sully kind of taps her to be her friend. So I mean, I feel like everybody knew a Sully. I was not the Sully. I was definitely the Ambrosia, but I feel like everybody knew a Sully, and they were best friends, and they were kind of not like toxic with each other, but like toxic to each other, where they got into all sorts of trouble and maybe were not always the best for each other. So we're at the reunion. We get dual timelines of what went down in college and what's going on in present day. And it says it becomes very clear that they're being pursued by someone who wants more than just the truth of what happened to come out. They want revenge. So also a bit like In My Dreams I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead, which is another book I always recommend and absolutely love for this time of year. So again, I love a toxic female friendship. I love past and present mysteries. I just love college-centric, what the heck did you do? And I just love somebody being out for revenge. So don't sleep on this book. I feel like this one doesn't get enough hype, and it's absolutely fantastic. And then another dark academia, which I feel like it's a lot of hype, but can never have too much, is They Never Learn by Layne Fargo. This was the first of her books that I read. So if you have read The Favorites, which was, I want to say January Book of the Month selection, which is when I got it, totally different than this, but Layne is not an author to be missed. So this is about a female serial killer. It's dual POVs. So we open with our professor. What is she a professor of? Scarlett Clark is an exceptional English professor. That should have been something I could have remembered. And she's even better at getting away with murder. So she rids the campus of the bad men. And she finds her targets and she kills them and she gets away with it. Kind of until now. So she's maybe a little overzealous in one of her new targets and almost gets herself caught, which creates obviously all sorts of issues for Scarlett. So we have a little bit of police investigation, a little bit of cat and mouse, and then we also get the POV of Carly, and she is just trying to survive her freshman year. So she has a lot of family issues, a lot that she was trying to get away from. And she has this new roommate, so kind of a new roommate like Sully from Girls Are Also Nice here. So her new roommate, Allison, it says is cool and confident, everything Carly wishes she could be. So they they form a very quick, fast, intense friendship. And some things start to happen, which I feel like better left not reading the inside of this, because it gives a little something away. But basically we follow these two women as they are both navigating some pretty tough stuff, but it's super engaging. It's really twisty. I had a lot of fun with this. Loved Scarlett, loved Carly, and I just think this is a fantastic novel. So this was one that also like totally blew me away. And this is Layne's second book. So I haven't read Temper, but I have read all of her other books, and I just think she's phenomenal. So perfect dark academia book. And then let's get a little bit spooky again. So another one that I have read, and I feel like I haven't recommended in a while, but The Brightlands by John Fram. Whew, this one is creepy. So I actually listened to the audiobook of this first and then went out and bought the book. And this was like a few years back. It has this gorgeous cover. The audiobook narration is so wonderfully creepy. And if you guys watched my Thriller Fest recap, I talked about how I met him and I was trying to be like real cool. There's a few incidents of Audrey trying to be real cool at Thriller Fest and then just fangirling. And I was talking to him about like how the audio narration of this like completely freaked me out. So I think you could physically read it and also be a little bit freaked out, but the audio is amazing. So in this one, we are in a very small town down in Texas, and it says when star quarterback Dylan Whitley goes missing, an unremitting fear grips this remote corner of Texas. So Joel is his older brother who was kind of shamed out of this small town for being gay, and he went to New York City and kind of doesn't come back. But when his brother goes missing, he winds up getting involved in the search to try and figure out what happened to his younger brother. And in the process, kind of reunited with friends of his from high school, people he maybe liked and didn't like in high school who are still living in this small town. And he is forced to confront a lot of things that he dealt with back in the day as we try to reveal or try to unravel what happened to Dylan in present day. And it says, no one's quite prepared to face the darkness that's begun to haunt their nightmares, whispering about a place long thought to be nothing but an urban legend. An empty night, a flicker of light on the horizon, the Brightlands. It's so good. It's so good. So I have his second book, which I'm blanking on the name of. I will put it on the screen. I can see it across the room, but I can't see it because my vision is terrible. And then I actually just got the arc of his newest book too. So he's phenomenal. If you're looking to be a little bit freaked out, but also like wholly entertained, this is great. He's great. Read him. And then I have a book that I picked up recently, which is more nonfiction, by which I mean it is nonfiction, more nonfiction than fiction. This is Your Favorite Scary Movie by Ashley Cullins. This one somehow did not catch my radar when I was doing a new release video for August. And this is, as you can probably tell by the cover, like a love story to Scream and horror movies and how Scream changed everything. So as a diehard Scream fan, I absolutely wanted to get this. So it says the ultimate story of the Scream franchise, featuring interviews from more than 80 key players and an in-depth exploration of the creation and legacy of the films that revived a dying genre. So Ashley Cullins is an entertainment journalist, and I have a feeling this is going to be like a bingeable, behind-the-scenes amazingness. So it's all about how the stories came to be, interviews with Kevin Williamson, and there's photos. I don't know who the other 79 people are who are interviewed in here, but you can bet I have super high hopes. I love this franchise so much. I'm so excited for the new Scream that's coming out next year. So there is a list on the back of some people who are interviewed, but we have Neve Campbell, Courtney Cox, David Arquette, Kevin Williamson, Skeet Ulrich, Matthew Lillard, Jack Quaid, Parker Posey, Hayden Panettiere, Jasmine Savoy Brown, Mason Gooding, Radio Silence, who did the revival movies, and then Roger L. Jackson, who is the voice of Ghostface. So I feel like all of this obviously reinforces the authenticity of it, that all of these actors and producers and creators are part of this book, but I'm very excited for this. So what a great way to get in the mood for spooky season. And then here's a book I haven't read also that I also think is great for spooky season, Hidden Pictures by Jason Rekulak. This has been on my shelf for far too long. I have a plan to correct that this spooky season. So this is this his first book? I know he has a new book since then, which I also have, The Night at the Wedding. Haven't read it yet. So he wrote one book before this, but I feel like this is the book that really put him on the map. And there's all sorts of like creepy pictures inside it, hidden pictures, creepy drawings. So this is one where we have Mallory is fresh out of rehab and takes a job in the affluent suburb of Springbrook, New Jersey, to babysit for Ted and Carol Maxwell and their 5-year-old son, Teddy. And I think we have Teddy to thank for some of these horribly creepy photographs or drawings and sketches that are inside this book. So it says Mallory immediately loves her new job. And she lives in their pool house. She goes on nightly runs. She has all the stability that she craves. And she has sincerely bonded with Teddy, who is a sweet, shy boy and is never without his notebook and his pencil. So one day, you know, he's drawing trees, bunnies, balloons, and then he draws something different, a man in a forest dragging a woman's lifeless body. So he's got some sinister drawings, and I feel like I don't want to read much more because you just never know how much it's going to get dark. But I mean, you know how I feel about bunnies, you guys. And this is not going to be like a bunny-friendly book, is my guess. And I think it might, you know, be slightly nightmare-inducing. I take great pleasure in the fact that early in this book, I see a lot of bunnies. I see a lot of bunnies. I live for a bunny. I live for a bunny. So this is supposed to be absolutely fantastic. And it looks kind of big, but I feel like it also is one that you can just tear all the way through. So very excited for Hidden Pictures. And then let's go to another one I haven't read yet. This one is Dark Academia. I'm like looking down. I've read one of them. So let's do the one I haven't read yet. I showed this in that last book haul that I did. And this is When We Were Villains by C.F. Barrington. 5 Friends, One Deadly Obsession, aka Things Audrey is Obsessed With. So a dark and messed up friend group, ding dong. And we've got St. Andrews University. So we've got misfit first year student Finn Nethercott. And it is a place where only privilege counts and those from the right backgrounds can get away with murder. All I needed to know. All I needed to know. So Finn gets seduced into a new circle of friends. 4 history scholars obsessed with the deepest roots of ancient Scotland. They sweep him away on a wild adventure to forgotten castles and fairy lochs. But he soon discovers the darker side of his new friendships, deadly rivalries, midnight rituals, and a desperate search for a long-lost hallucinogen. Then, as Finn is pulled into a world where he can't always trust what he's seen each night, the obsession becomes deadly. So the review on the back, which you know I'm a sucker for a review, is Dark Academia at its seductive, shadowy best. I would love Dark Academia at its shadowy and seductive best. So reminds me a bit of Secret History, which is also a great book if you haven't read it yet. Trying to talk about books that I haven't always talked about. So I'm here for it. And then kind of on the vibe of Scream, if you're here for like the scary movie, this is fiction-ish. fiction adjacent. This is Runtime by Catherine Ryan Howard. This was inspired by her brother having worked on a horror movie set, which is why I say like fiction adjacent, but what happens in this book didn't actually happen to her brother. But this one was amazing. I loved this. I'm a big fan of hers. I am slowly / very behind on reading her to zero, but this is a perfect spooky season because we are literally on the set of a horror movie and it gets creepy and messed up. This is also some mixed media, so it wavers between script pages and then actually what is happening, which I loved. I always love something a bit unique to the storytelling. The short blurb on this one says The Project. Final draft, a psychological horror being filmed at a house deep in a forest, miles from anywhere in the wintry wilds of West Cork. The lead, former soap star Adele Rafferty, has stepped in to replace the original actress at the very last minute. She can't help but hope that this opportunity will be her big break, and she knows she was lucky to get it after what happened the last time she was on a set. And then here's the problem. Something isn't quite right about Final Draft. And when strange goings on in the script start to happen on the set, art imitating life, life imitating art, Adele begins to fear that the real horror lies off the page. Catherine Ryan Howard is fantastic. I've said it before and I will continue to say it, but I really loved this one. I ripped through it big time, and it is again, perfect. These are all perfect spooky season books, which is why I'm talking about them. So put it on your list if you love a horror movie vibe to your books. And then to switch back to some dark academia, this is a indication of a book I loved via tabs. This is Jessie Q. Sutanto's I'm Not Done With You Yet. This is her first adult thriller. Obsessed. Again, if you guys have been here for a while, you know this was another book that I expected to like and I just absolutely fell in love with. I feel like that's the theme, basically, of all the books that I'm going to talk about that I've read. And I'm still not over this one. So again, we get dual timelines. This is a book about a writer. We are in Oxford. We're in New York City. And we have a really toxic, dark, and messed up female friendship in this one that does not let up. And it's brilliant. So in this one, we are following Jane, who is a struggling midlist writer. Her novels barely command 4 figures, and she feels trapped in an underwhelming marriage and is just kind of scraping by. So when she sees a notice in the newspaper that her one and only best friend, Thalia, from Oxford, is going to be in New York City. Thalia is a very famous author, and she is doing an event. Jane decides to not tell her husband, scrape kind of together the last pieces of money that she has, and buys a ticket to fly cross country to see Thalia, who she hasn't seen in ages. And the blurb says, one night ruined everything. The blood-soaked night that should have bound Thalia to Jane forever, but instead made her lose her completely. Thalia disappeared without a trace, and Jane has been unable to find her since, until now. So she's at the top of the New York Times bestseller list, and Jane will do anything to see her. And that's what she's going to do. So we get the past timeline in Oxford, and we get the present day timeline in New York City, as these two friends who haven't seen each other reunite, and it's just brilliant. 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 I couldn't love it more. I am sitting here looking at like all the tabs in here, and I'm like, I kind of just want to read this one again. So as I continue to work on backlist bingo, has everybody forgotten about it the way I did? Maybe I will do a reread of this, but it's absolutely fantastic. This is a brilliant one. And then another one, which I haven't talked about in years, but like I feel like when I first started my channel, I had just read this book, and this is All These Beautiful Strangers by Elizabeth Klehfoth. I just thought this was going to be sort of like kind of rich kids behaving badly at a boarding school, but there's so much more to this book, and I loved it. And a part of this, I would say, not like outside my wheelhouse, but there is a past timeline that normally would be like a little bit dated, and I'm like, ugh, just keep me in the present. But it really worked for me in this book. So at the core of this book, we are following Charlie. So her mom disappeared years ago. So her mother was Grace Fairchild, beautiful young wife of real estate mogul Alistair Calloway, and she disappeared from their family's lake house without a trace. and Charlie was 7 at the time. So all these years later, there's still a ton of unanswered questions. Charlie has carried this burden, and she just doesn't know what happened. And she wants to let go of the past. She wants to move on. She's going to give it a go. So she is at Knollwood, which is a prestigious New England school, and quickly becomes friends with the it crowd at Knollwood. And she is tapped by the A's, which is the school's elite secret society. It had me at secret society, which is why I was like, done and done. I'm going to get this book. And it becomes kind of a mess, as you can imagine a secret society could be. So she has to play the game, which is a semester-long diabolical high-stakes scavenger hunt that can jeopardize her friendships, her reputation, and even her place at Knollwood. So we start to get a convergence of the past and the present. So we are seeing multiple POVs in this. So Charlie is 2017. We are seeing her mom Grace in 2007. So the year that she disappears. And then I'm like looking for the other timeline. So we get the timeline of Charlie's parents meeting, which was actually really good. And that's where I say like, oof, I don't always want like past in things. So 1996-ish, 1995. And I loved it. And the way everything tied together and the way this story unfolded about this family and just, again, all the dark and messed upness of this family. This was a book that, again, expected to like, totally loved. Definitely, I mean, this is older. So I was going to say, like, I feel like it doesn't get enough hype, but it is an older book. It came out in 2018. But if you have not heard of this or read this, I highly recommend it. Like, don't sleep on this one. It's fantastic. And if you love a secret society, it's fantastic. If you love dark and messed up family secrets, it's fantastic. There's definitely a vibe of rich people behaving badly, and it's just great. It's just absolutely great, and I loved it. And I also want to reread this one because it's been years. I haven't read it probably since 2018, 2019-ish, so great. Okay, and then my second book of the month pick, it's time to talk about The Academy by Elin Hilderbrand and Shelby Cunningham. So again, it looks like my high school. And I am obsessed with a boarding school book where just, you know, kind of a Pretty Little Liars, Gossip Girl vibes going on. I want to know all about it. And here we go. So, like I said, so we start at move-in day, and Tiffin, this school, has somehow jumped like 17 steps in rank and is inexplicably just ranked the #2 boarding school in the country. And nobody really knows why. And nobody can kind of figure it out. It's not a new school, dorms are kind of dingy, sports teams aren't doing great, but it's, you know, it's got some pros going for it as well, and they do have a lot of fun and a lot of parties and a lot of dances, and all of that sort of, you know, is going to come to an end when the new app ZipZap decides to post all these scandalous blind items and start to reveal everybody's secrets, which I kind of love. I love people's secrets coming to the surface. And it just is going to obviously create a whole lot of problems for students, for teachers, and the admissions director, and they just don't know what to do. So it says, as the year unfolds, bonds are forged and broken, secrets are shared and exposed, and the lives of staff and students are changed forever. So I'm very intrigued by this. And again, I love the idea that she wrote this with her daughter. I have seen some early reviews where people said, you know, like very authentic in the language of it, which makes a ton of sense because her daughter is obviously bringing her authenticity to it. As I said, there is a map in this book, which I love. And then I'm seeing in the beginning, there's a who's who. So you get a cast of characters, which totally reminds me of like an Agatha Christie. So you get the administration, you get the faculty, you get the students, notable fifth formers, and notable sixth formers. Having only gone to public school my entire life, I'm not sure what a fifth form and a sixth form is, but I trust when I read this, I will figure it out. So I am here for it, and I'm just looking super quickly, and I see that there is a girl named Audrey, no Y, A-U-D-R-E. Audrey. Is that, are they starting to spell my name differently, you guys? Have I become so basic that they had to switch up my name? Because my entire life, my name was not anything. Although props to the guy at Starbucks yesterday who, when I gave my name, he says, as in Hepburn, because yes, as in Hepburn. Because I remember introducing myself to somebody like that in college, and the guy said, who? And I said, goodbye. So cheers to Elin and Shelby on that one. And then I have a few more to go. 2 I haven't read, 1 I have read, and we're gonna go back to Spooky Town. So this is We Live Here Now by Sarah Pinborough. Also showed this in my recent haul because it has these stunning edges. This is definitely ghosty. I have heard great things about it, and as I talked about in the book haul, I kind of didn't care what it was about because I was so obsessed with the cover and the edges of this one that I just needed to know everything. And it's kind of like a haunted house. So it's pitched as a modern Gothic. It says, after an accident that nearly killed her, Emily and her husband Freddie moved from London to a beautiful Dartmoor country house called Larkin Lodge. It's gorgeous, it's striking, but Emily feels like something's not quite right. Old boards creak at night, fires go out, and books fall from the shelves. No, say it isn't so. But these things happen only when Emily is alone. So are they really happening at all? So you know her husband doesn't believe her. Come on, Freddie, give her some credit. So she is still medically fragile. Her post-sepsis condition can cause hallucinatory side effects. So we're justifying why these things are maybe happening. So she can't really trust herself. And Freddie is just jazzed to have a fresh start. He's not seeing any of it. He's got no concerns, Freddie. So Emily, however, starts to believe the house is being haunted by someone who was murdered in it. Yes. Though she can find no evidence of a wrongful death. Bizarre events pile up, strain on the marriage. Emily becomes obsessed. And it says, if the house has secrets, so do Emily and her husband. And they live here now. What's going on? What's going on? This sounds wonderfully creepy. Wonderfully creepy. Here for it. Yes. Sarah, do it. Do it. And then another book, which I have slept on, had to have it, haven't read it yet, is We Used to Live Here by Marcus Klewer. I remember hearing Kate from Book Wild talk about this last year, and she did a whole spoiler full book podcast episode. And I was like, ooh, I'm going to read it and then I'll watch it. I haven't read it yet. Obviously, because it's here. Another house on the cover. So looks all kinds of creepy. What is it about, you ask? Let me tell you. It's pitched as Get Out meets Parasite, an eerily haunting debut. Let's go. As a young queer couple who flips houses, Charlie and Eve can't believe the killer deal they just got on an old house in a picturesque neighborhood. As they're working on renovations one day, there's a knock on the door. A man stands there with his family, claiming to have lived here years before, and is asking if it would be all right if he showed his kids around. People pleaser to a fault, Eve lets them in. But as soon as the strangers enter the home, uncanny and inexplicable things start happening, including the family's youngest child going missing and a ghostly presence materializing in the basement. Weirder yet, the family can't seem to take the hint that their visit should be over. And when Charlie suddenly vanishes, Eve slowly loses her grip on reality. Something is terribly wrong with the house and with the visiting family. Or is Eve just imagining it? So kind of similar to We Live Here Now. Creepy house, creepy vibes going on, and this is his debut, I think. It says he's a writer and stop motion animator. I believe this is his debut, and I think this one kind of messes with your head. Oh, look at this old house map that's inside this one. How many people own books that you've never actually flipped open and flipped through? Love a map. So I'm excited to read this and then to listen to Kate's pod about it. And I'm sure I'm going to have a lot of questions, a lot of things to talk about, and we'll see what happens. Oh, it looks like there's also maybe like a bit of a documentary mixed into this. Stop reading, Audrey. Stop reading. Okay. Need to read this. Stop reading before you've read. Okay. And then last book I have is another dark academia, which I've talked about this before. So after I read In My Dreams, I Hold a Knife, that to me became the new Gone Girl, in the sense of like, if it was like, if you loved Gone Girl, you'll love this. So anytime I see, if you loved In My Dreams, you'll love this, I like latch on like nobody's business. And one of the books that came up through one of those recommendations is Tell Me Everything by Cambria Brockman. And this one really surprised me also, and was very unexpected in a lot of ways. So similar dark academia, group of friends, something happened, we've got to piece it all together. This one follows them all 4 years, so like similarly to In My Dreams. So we meet this group of friends as they are meeting each other, and we get to see them through the 4 years, but we jump around a little bit, and the book opens on Senior Day, which is January 29th, 2011. And this is one of those things where like something happens in chapter 1 on Senior Day, and then we jump back to freshman year, and then we the book is interwoven with Senior Day and past years with this friend group. And I loved it. So we have Layne is our main character in this, swept up into a tight-knit circle that will stick together through all 4 years. But Layne is kind of like a little bit different. So I feel like Ambrosia, where like Sully is the main one, with Jane and Thalia. So Malin, I think it's Malin, Malin, is like kind of different than her friend group, and she's got stuff from her past that she's trying to hide. So college for her is a chance to start fresh, clean slate, all that good stuff. And it says, well, those around her are dating and partying. She is using her extraordinary insight to detect their deepest vulnerabilities and weaknesses. So by Senior Day, Malin's secrets and those of her friends are revealed. While she scrambles to maintain her artfully curated image, her missteps set in motion a devastating chain of events that ends in a murder. So excited. I'm so excited. And as fragile relationships hang in the balance and close alliances shift, Malin must test the limits of what she's capable of to stop the truth from coming out. So definitely, I feel like it has like a little bit of like a How to Get Away with Murder vibe, a little bit of a Secret History vibe, but I just love, it's not like popcorny. I feel like it's a more literary fiction mystery, but wholly engaging, definitely page turning, really thought provoking. And I just, I love just a group of dark and messed up friends who do all sorts of dark and messed up things. So another one that is dog-eared to the high heavens. How Do I Love Thee? Let me dog-ear the pages. And I highly recommend it. So this is another one I also don't feel like I hear enough about, but I feel like when I do hear about it, people are like, oh my God, this is amazing. Why is nobody talking about this book? So this one came out in 2019, but if you haven't already, you might want to add this one to your list because it is great. So there you have some of my favorite dark academia and spooky books that I highly recommend to all of you, some that I'm very excited to read. So thank you again to Book of the Month for giving me 2 more fantastic books, one in each genre, that I'm very excited to read this fall. And don't forget, you guys, you can get your first book for only $5 using the code JACKET. You can also get a free hat, which you don't want to miss out on. I love this thing. It is so soft and it is so perfect, and I'm so excited about it. So thank you to Book of the Month. Thank you to everybody here for watching, for following along, and let me know, what are some spooky books, what are some dark academia books that you would recommend to everybody else here watching. And I will see you guys in another video really soon. I will report back on what I have read, and let's just keep the conversation going. So thanks so much, everybody. Take care, and I'll see you really soon. Bye, everybody.